What's going on, people? Welcome to One More Watch, Please. In today's episode, we're going to talk to a watch enthusiast from Florida. And in the watch community, he's also known as Mr. Zelos because this watch enthusiast has over 70 Zelos watches. And if you don't know who Zelos are, Zelos are a micro brand who are around for quite a while and quite well known in the micro brand community, and they make some really amazing watches. I had another guest previously as well who spoke about Zelos, but in this episode you're going to be seeing some really nice limited edition pieces. So make sure you watch the video till the end. And without further ado, let's dive into the conversation with Dan. So, hey, Dan, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you. Great to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
And how's your day been?
Relatively uneventful. We're expecting a storm this weekend, Tropical Storm Debbie, so I've been spending most of my time getting ready for that and getting ready for this.
I hope everything is fine.
Yeah, it's a small storm. We're used to it down here. My house can take it.
It's good to hear. Cool. So why don't you tell the viewers a bit about yourself and how did you get into watch collecting?
Well, my name is Dane. I'm living here in Central Florida. I have a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel name is Saleen Driver, Saleen Driver, one word, no spaces. I got into watch collecting in two stages. One round of watch collecting started after my divorce in 2005. I've always been a car enthusiast and therefore like all things mechanical. And watches are just little mechanical machines, so it's sort of a natural progression. But my journey started a little differently than even that. I used to be, and still am really, a big reader. One of my favorite authors was a gentleman named Clive Cussler. Now, some watch people know who that is, most don't. But his books focused around a central character named Dirk Pitt. And Dirk Pitt always wore a specific watch, an orange Doxa, or Doxa if you prefer that pronunciation. And when I was able to, I saw a picture of one, and I said, I'd like to own one of those. I think it's a very attractive watch. And in 2006, after my divorce, I bought one.
Nice.
This one happens to be the a Doxa 750T Clive Cussler edition, which was released right around the time when there was a movie adaptation of the book Sahara. And there was also a Dirk Pitt edition, which I didn't get. But this watch pretty much started my watch collecting. I started buying Doxas. I bought several Doxas. I also bought a lot of relatively inexpensive watches. And then about a year or two later, I kind of fell out of the hobby and sold most of those watches, but I did keep that watch. This one. I kept it. So this watch actually represents the oldest watch I have. It's upside down. I'm sorry. This watch represents the oldest watch I have in my collection, it's not the oldest watch I own, but in terms of how long I've had it, I've had this watch since 2006. So wow. That's why this watch is very special to me, and that's why I chose to show it today, because it represents the start of my watch collecting journey. Like I said, I stopped in about 2007, maybe early 2008. And then a few years later, I sort of realized that I didn't really know it, but my father had been collecting watches for years, since the 80s, really, and had amassed a pretty good sized collection, and he saw it, and most of it was in storage, and for some reason he brought it out, and I started looking at them, and I became fascinated all over again, and remembered this watch, and started thinking about collecting again. And the one thing my father always emphasized, because he was a very smart man, probably one of the most intelligent men I've ever known, he always said that if you're going to get into something, become knowledgeable about it, especially if it involves money. If it involves investing even a little bit of money, become knowledgeable, read, study, question, learn. And so the more I learned, the more I wanted to get back into it. And I started back up again with his guidance. And then after getting tired of hauling watches down to jewelers and paying silly money to get things adjusted or fixed or changed, I decided to learn to do that on my own, and pick that up and started doing that for his watch collection as well as my fledgling collection. And then we started collecting together, and I'll get into one brand that we shared a passion for together. His taste was a little different than mine, and obviously his ability to buy better watches than me was better than mine. So his watch collection and mine were different in some ways, but they're similar in some ways. And then as he was beginning to wind down towards the end of his life, he started looking to me to influence his collection. And in the last 2 years of his life, there was something that we shared together and spent a lot of time on together. It doesn't hurt that the man and my mom live very close to me, and my mom still does. So we were able to develop our collections together very tightly. And of course, when he passed in 2022, his collection became my collection, and now I'm taking care of a very large collection, which I love. I love to death. And one of the watches I'm going to show today is one of his favorites. And there was a specific reason he felt a very, very deep attachment to this watch. And I'll get into that when I show it. But this watch, this Doxa 750T Cussler, was Genesis, as far as I'm concerned. And it will never leave. It never leaves.
Cool.
That's how I got into it.
Cool. Thanks for telling us your story. It's really interesting, and I agree with your father's advice where he said, if you're getting into something, make sure you're knowledgeable about it. I think I kind of believe the same. Like when I first got into watches, I did a lot of research into different models, different movements, etc. before I got my first watch. And I started with my dad's Seiko. So that's how I got into automatic watches.
And even if you're buying an SKX or a 5KX now, you're buying a Long Island watch, Islander, or something sub $500. And don't get me wrong, I am not so deluded in any level of my life that $500 isn't significant money. It is. Even if you're going to spend a couple $100, know what you're doing. Know the difference between a manual wind and an automatic and a quartz. Know the difference between mineral crystal and hardlex and sapphire. Know the difference between stainless steel and what it feels like versus sterling silver versus white gold versus platinum because they all look similar, but they all feel different.
Yeah.
Because that, and forgive the bluntness of the next statement, but this is the best way to not get screwed, which is so easy to have done. It was done to me. Fortunately, it was done to me with something as simple as a G-Shock, but I ended up buying a fake G-Shock of all things. Now, it only cost me $40, but it was an example of me not knowing what I was buying before I bought it and getting caught out. In the most embarrassing way, I made a video of an unboxing and review like I always do of the watch, and then got inundated with messages saying, you bought a fake. And it was embarrassing. It was a public embarrassment. I mean, most people were kind about it, and they didn't beat me up about it and laugh and go, ha, you're an idiot. But still, you don't want that to happen again. So you learn. That for anyone who's watching this, who's thinking of getting into this hobby or is relatively new to the hobby, you must learn. And the best way to learn is from, I learned a lot from fellow YouTubers. Guys like Mark from Long Island Watch, guys like Random Rob, TGV on Urban Gentry, a good friend of mine, Tennessee Mike, and, bunches of other YouTubers who watch and learn.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a series that Mark from Long Island Watch has. He has like 90 videos called Watch and Learn. I learned all kinds of stuff just by watching those videos.
Yeah, definitely. Especially nowadays when a lot of people are trying to scam by selling fake watches. So make sure
very dangerous.
you learn about what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, especially when you get into the high-end stuff. You don't want to plunk down $20,000 on a fake Rolex.
Yeah, definitely.
In that case, I have other advice for that, but I'll save that for later.
Cool. So you've already sort of given us a sneak peek of your first watch.
Yes.
So we're not going to repeat all of that again, but if you can sort of highlight the main features of that watch and what you sort of love about that watch.
Well, one thing, let me get off my wrist here. Doxas are always famous for their bracelet called the Beads of Rice, which I think is a very, very attractive bracelet style. It doesn't seem to be very popular. Most people, they get but you can't use the word now, or else the company that begins with an R goes after you if you call it don't call it an O bracelet. Don't call it the full name. I call it the O bracelet or the J bracelet. Most people think of those. Most dive watches have that style, kind of an H-beam style. But I love the Beads of Rice. Another great feat. I mean, obviously you have the dive clasp, which is the click with the fold over, very secure. One thing that's unique to the Doxa, and I think maybe the Jenny brand, which is an offshoot, and I think maybe one or two others, is hopefully you can see the bezel.
Yeah.
Is it upside down again?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. But you can see the bezel has not only on the inner track where the white dot is up at the top, which has the standard dive bezel with the minutes, and you can line the white pip up with a minute hand and see what your bottom time, elapsed time is. But also the outer part of that bezel has dive table. I think it's PADI dive table, which tells you how long you can, what depth. I used to be a scuba diver, but it's been so long I forgot most of it. But you're limited the amount of downtime you can stay underwater before you have to come up slowly and then stop and allow the nitrogen in your blood to degas or unbubble or whatever, so you don't get the bends. and
Yeah.
the bezel on a Doxa diver has the table built in so that for a certain number of feet that you dive down, you can know how long you can stay down before you have to go through decompression. So that's kind of a unique part, and obviously the face with the bright orange
Yeah.
is classic scuba diver watch face color because orange is supposed to be highly visible in low light. And I can't show it because obviously I've got lights on and everything, but the lume on these things is fantastic. And the overall case design, I mean, it's a cushion style case, or maybe you could call it a turtle style case if you're more
Yeah.
familiar with that. It's all classic scuba diver watch features, but Doxa was one of the first and the earliest to do all this. And in the case of the bezel, is one of the only ones doing the bezel type. And that's what made the watch unique to me, and that's what made the watch something that I wanted to invest in. And from back then in 2006, I think any watch that I bought before then was probably only maybe a couple $100 at most, and this thing was thousands brand new, and it's held its value very well if I wanted to sell it, which I do not. But to make that kind of leap, and back then I didn't know what I was doing, so I kind of got lucky that I bought a watch from a reputable company and I didn't screw myself up. But yeah, that's what makes the watch special. I mean, it's one of the early, Doxa is one of the earliest dive watches out there. So, and I think it's just a fantastic looking piece. And besides the
Yeah.
fact that orange is one of my favorite colors.
Yeah. Doxa is definitely in my list. I think they do like bright orange, bright yellow as well. I think.
Yeah, they had different names for them. Like this one, the orange is referred to as the professional series. Then they have the blue dials, which is called the Caribbean. I have one of those. Very rare one. It's actually their only time they ever made a GMT watch. So I got a Caribbean. Then they have the black dial, which is the Shark Hunter. The yellow is the Diving Star. The silver is the Sea Rambler. And then they have the Aquamarine, which first came out in the Project Aware. I've owned watches in all those colors. And they've even come out with a couple of new colors, a white one and a green one, which I'm looking at, the green one. I have videos of all the Doxas that I've owned on my channel. So if anyone wants to go check those out, feel free, please. Like, share,
Yeah.
subscribe.
Yeah. Make sure you check out Dane's channel. I'll link the channel in the description below. So make sure you show some love to the channel.
I appreciate that. And make sure you show some love to Sakit's channel as well.
Thank you. So yeah, I think you set the bar really high by showing us your first really amazing watch. So we are really excited. What else have you got in front of you?
I am a big fan of a micro brand. I'm a big fan of the micro brand watch space to begin with. I think the micro brand watch space is going to be the salvation of watches in this age of these things and the so-called smartwatch. There may be the micro brands that save us, and I've owned micro brands from different companies. For instance, I'm very big right now on Venezianico. But my first and best love of the micro brand space is a company called Zelos. Or if you prefer Zelos, but it's not Zelos, it's Zelos. I've owned Zelos's since 15. I've been buying Zelos's since 2015. I have 70 of them at the moment.
Wow.
I have a lot of Zelos. But I have two in particular that I wanted to show today. This one is the first Zelos that I bought, which came out with a technique that pretty much only Zelos seems to do, called titanium Damascus, or Timascus, as we Zelosians call it. Now, Damascus, if nobody knows or is unsure, is a metal forming technique where you fold metal in the forging process over and over again, and it creates a very unique pattern in the metal, and it's unique to each forging. And Elshin Tang, the owner of Zelos, first started doing Damascus with the first generation hammerhead watch, which actually my first Zelos that I ever bought was a bronze hammerhead. I'm still hunting the Damascus hammerhead myself, but I did manage to pick up this one. My favorite Zelos line of them all is the ZX line. This is their chronograph line. And this one is a blue heat-treated titanium Damascus. This model is the ZX7. And there are only 40 of these. When he makes titanium Damascus, they're very, whatever model he makes them in. There aren't that many. Now, at the time he was doing this, he only made these with the blue heat treat, which is basically heating the titanium to about, I believe it's 900 degrees Celsius. And then that blues the metal, and then you can see you have these striations in the metal. They almost look like tiger stripes. And they also started doing this later in yellow. They came out yellow, which is a lower heat. I think it's about 500 degrees Celsius. But as I said, the ZX line is my favorite line from Zelos, and they have over a dozen different models out there. I made it a goal to own one example of each of the models. There were 8 models offered, well, 9. The one of them is a little iffy. There were 9 models of ZX offered. No, I'm sorry, I correct myself. 10. And I own all but one. I'm missing one. I'm chasing it. It was a model made specifically for a Hong Kong boutique, and there were 2 versions of that. There was one in titanium, which I did get recently, and there's one in bronze, which I'm hunting. And there aren't many of those. But I own ZX1 through ZX8. And I own the skeleton ZX, which there are only 5 of those. And I managed to find one of those. And I own one that is a one-off that Elshin made for himself, and that after me nagging him for a while, he agreed to sell to me. And that's was made where the dial, as you can see here, is just a simple black panda dial. But the dial on that one was made from the metal of a Supermarine Spitfire World War II fighter aircraft. So that one is known as the ZX Spitfire. There's only one, and I got it. And the skeleton version, there are only 5. Technically, that wasn't really offered for sale insofar as it was never offered on the website. But it was offered for sale to the public, and one of the guys that got one agreed to sell it to me. He was raising money. Like a lot of people, including myself, we buy watches. We sell them to raise money to buy other watches. Or to raise money to start a family, which that may sound cryptic now, but in a minute that'll make sense. But I'm in love with the Damascus Zelos, and I thought that this watch was the best example of the ones I have that show off what Elshin can do. And that's
Yeah.
the beauty of micro brands. I mean, yeah, this watch uses a Valjoux 7750 automatic motor. You know, it's an off-the-shelf movement, common as, you know, cornflakes. But that's not this. And I did a video of this on my channel where I got tired of listening to all the movement snobs, I call them, where they couldn't conceive of spending thousands of dollars on a watch with a Seiko or a Valjoux in it. And I said, you're missing the point. The strength of the micro brands is that they do use off-the-shelf movements like the Valjoux, like the Seiko, like the Miyota, like the Sellita, like the ETA 2824. The value and the greatness of the micro brand space is this: the design, the use of materials, the use of special techniques. I mean, I have a watch. All my watches are over here, so if I keep gesturing off to my left, camera right, I have watches over there that are titanium with a Cerakote ceramic coating. You don't see that in the mainstream, quote unquote, mainstream world. You see that in the microbrand world.
Yeah.
I have a Zelos over there that has a malachite dial. Now, you see malachite in some of the mainstream brands, but you don't see it at a price point that mere mortals like you and me can afford. I mean, when was the last time you saw a malachite dial under $1,000? I got a Mako malachite over there that was right around, I think, $500-$600 retail. You know, I have a watch over there that uses a Damascus heat treated dial. You know, it's a conventional case, but it's a heat treated dial. Again, unique, something that the micro brand space. Venezianico just recently released a watch that I bought one, and I'm waiting for it. It'll be in soon. I'll do a video on it. You can go see it. Where the dial is 24 karat gold treated. That's not solid 24 karat gold, but it's
Gold plated,
plated, if you will.
Yeah.
But it's a 24 karat gold dial. It's only $1,000. Now, okay, only $1,000. I realize $1,000 is not chump change, but mainstream brand does a gold dial. That's going to be more money. That's going to be much more money. But this is the value of the micro brand space. They can do new styles. They can do materials. They can do different dials, different bezels. Venezianico is doing a lot of dials in tungsten. Zelos is doing whole watches in tantalum, which is a very dense, very solid blue-gray metal. It's hard to work with. It's hard to produce watches with tantalum, but they look fantastic. So this watch to me is a fantastic representation of what the micro brands can do and where their value is. Now, this watch, no, not cheap, but you know, I mean, he's done heat treated Damascus titanium Damascus that are non-heat treated, that are just regular titanium for a third of the price of this watch, and they still look fantastic. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, it looks one of a kind, to be honest. I've never seen anything like this.
Now, and that's the other thing about titanium Damascus. Now, this is one of 40 watches, but each one of them have a unique striation pattern, so no two are going to be alike. So even though this is one of 40, it's one of one as well. And if you're into that, and I am, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to collect something that's unique and something that you can cherish. and it's
Definitely.
perfectly wearable, keeps great time, and it's grade 5 titanium, so it's pretty tough.
Cool.
I don't want to drop it, but it's pretty tough.
Yeah, you don't want to drop such an incredible piece. So yeah, what's next in your list?
Well, another Zelos. Whoops, that one went wobbling. Another Zelos. Now this one is unique. Well, it's also titanium Damascus or Damascus, but this one I believe was the first one he did where he did a yellow heat treat. He treated it to it turning yellow instead of blue. For whatever reason, Elshad decided to do something that no micro brand had ever done before and go for broke to make the ultimate Halo watch as far as he was concerned. To use a really, really, really high-end movement. To go all out on the kit, the box, the everything. The whole thing had to be something over and above what anybody had done in the microbrand space. And he came out in 2019 with this watch, the Mirage. Now, this is a manual wind Le Joux Perret. And if you look at the 6 o'clock, if my camera will focus,
Yeah.
A tourbillon. So a Swiss tourbillon in a micro brand. And this one is a full skeleton watch. Yeah, let me get off the pad so you can see how skeletonized this watch is. And
Yeah,
you can see. Oh,
it's a really unique dial. I love skeleton watches, to be honest. I've got a few of them.
finally got it to focus.
Yeah.
But you can see the barrel, you can see the escape, you can see the rotor, and you can see the tourbillon down there at the 6 o'clock. Now, for those of you who don't know what a tourbillon is, and there might be one or two, it was developed a long, long time ago. I think in the 1700s or the 1800s, because as we all know, gravity affects how a watch runs and thus affects its accuracy. The tourbillon was created to basically make these watches to resist the forces of gravity on the movement and maintain the accuracy no matter if you're dial up, dial down, dial this, dial that, whatever. Now, in today's world, with the accuracy of the movements and how you can put things together and so on and so forth, the tourbillon really isn't necessary. But it's still a hell of a thing to look at. You know what? Let me get the hands out of the way. What am I thinking here? I'm showing the watch off, and the hands are in the way of the tourbillon. Yeah. You can see it moving. At least I hope you can. Yep.
Yeah, I can.
Now, they only made 10 of these watches. They only made 2 in this yellow heat treat Damascus. You can see the heat treat, if you look at it, you can see purple in the striations. Now, I did not buy this new. At the time that these came out, I didn't have the funds to buy one of these. And by the way, all 10 of these were between, I think, $10,500 and $12,000 US. And they sold out in 30 seconds. Literally, 30 seconds. I bought this off of the original owner who sold it to me because he was, as I mentioned earlier, some people sell these things to start a family. He wanted the money to start a family. And thank you, Ken. You know who you are. We put the deal together. I had dealt with him before. I bought a couple of other watches from him that weren't cheap. So we had trust, and we had knowledge of each other. And I think I sold 4 watches to raise the capital for this one. And it was worth it. Now, out in the Zelos world, somebody else. I emphasize this every time. I did not give myself this nickname. It was hung on me, Mr. Zelos. They hung that nickname on me, and you know what? I will happily live up. To me, El Shintang is Mr. Zelos, but I will live up to the nickname Mr. Zelos. Like I said, I have 70 of these things. I've owned more than that. I've sold off some to buy others. I love the Zelos. I do. But I didn't have the Mirage. I have several of the Mirage version 2, which are a less expensive, although still very expensive watch, with a less expensive non-tourbillon Le Jour Perret movement. But I wanted one of these forever. And I made it known that, if you've got one and you're looking to sell, please contact me. And Ken and I, knew each other. And, and I got to give you a shot from the back. The backside is epic.
Wow, that looks amazing.
Yeah. And Ken knew I wanted one of these. So when it came time, and it took a while, I waited years. And I wasn't impatient. I didn't beat him up over it. I didn't nag anybody over it. I only knew 2 people that owned one. And I knew neither one of them were selling. So I waited patiently. And one day out of the blue, Ken contacted me and said, it's time. And I said,
Yeah.
Can you give me some time to raise the funds? And he said, absolutely. The rest is history, sir. And you know what? It's a 40 millimeter watch, which is right on the bottom edge of, I generally like to stay at 40 millimeter and above because of my wrist size. This watch it's titanium, so it wears beautifully. In fact, I'll put it on for you. It's comfortable. It's incredibly accurate.
Yeah, it looks really good.
It's sorry about the cut on my elbow. It's incredibly accurate. It's a great daily wear watch, and it's a tourbillon. That's the beauty of micro brands. They can be, incredible materials. They can be incredible everything, and still make fantastic daily wear watches.
Cool. Thanks for showing such amazing watches. I think my next question for you is, as you all know, we all watch enthusiasts have some sort of wish list. What does your wish list look like? What is on your wish list for the next 1 or 2 years?
I have a lot. Right now, I'm actively chasing 5 different Zelos watches. 4 of them are relatively hard to find, and one of them is extremely hard to find. But I won't list those. But one of them is a made of tantalum. It's the first tantalum watch they made. It was a swordfish line, and they only made 5. And that one's going to be incredibly hard to find. The other ones are not going to be easy to find either, but there were more of them. So if you consider 25 or 30 or something like that, more. But in the non-micro brand world, there are 2 watches that I'm chasing. One of them is from my favorite mainstream brand, Breitling. I am a fool for Breitling, and I am a big fool for the Navitimer. Matter of fact, watch number 4, which I know we're running out of time, so I'll be brief. But watch number 4 was my most unique Breitling Navitimer. This is the Navitimer 146152. The thing that makes this watch unique is it's a perpetual, except for once every 4 years you have to adjust it for the leap year. But the dial at the 3 o'clock, if you can see it, counts the weeks of the year.
Wow.
Right now, as we make this, we're in the 31st week of the year, and you can see the pointer is pointed at 31st week. So this is my most unique and my favorite Navitimer. But I'm also a big fan of the Navitimer Cockpit series. That was a series that they paid tribute to airline companies. TWA, which I have, Swiss Air, which I have. Down the line, after the 3 that they made, and I haven't named the third one yet, they made another one for American Airlines, which I was able to pick up. But the third one of the Cockpit series was the Pan Am, which is the best looking of the lot, and I'm chasing one of those. But I'm also a big fan of the Omegas. I love Omega, especially the Speedmasters. The Speedmaster Moon to Mars is my big grail right now. That's not named Zelos. Now it's a standard Speedy, but in the 3 subdials, instead of them being a different color or the same color black as a standard Speedy, they have pictures of the Moon, Mars, and the Earth.
Yeah.
As in the subdial, and I think that is a fantastic watch. The problem is most of them are in Japan, and most of them are beat to hell. So I'm trying to find one that is
in decent condition,
in really good shape,
yeah.
and the kit is not destroyed.
Yeah, definitely.
So those are my 2 big grails: the Pan Am Navitimer and the Speedy Moon to Mars. And I'll get there. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, definitely. If any of you viewers know someone who has these watches, then make sure you let us know. And then
the problem is right now I've got to do a couple of renovations to my house, and that takes priority.
Definitely. Family first. Family always first. But yeah, I know we were going to be talking about more watches, but like you said, we're running out of time. But let us know if you want to know more about Dane's watches, and we'll do another episode with more watches.
I would love to come back. I'm happy to talk about watches, and I've got plenty more to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
All over there.
Yeah, we should definitely do another episode together.
I would. This was great.
Cool. Before we wrap up, what's your top tip for someone who is starting into watch collecting journey?
Okay, 3 things. 1, educate yourself. Do not go into this hobby the way I did back in 2006, which was dumb. Know what you're doing before you spend the money, because, hey, in 2024, we're not in the greatest of economic times right now. Money is money. Money is precious. You don't need to be throwing it away. So learn. Related to that, don't go into debt for watches. Don't go into debt for watches. That is the dumbest thing and please don't buy these things as investments. Unless you're spending big money up front, you're not going to get your money back. Buy what you like. Don't buy what the people tell you to buy. If you like divers like this, buy a diver. If you like a dressier watch like this, buy dress watches. Just because everybody and their uncle's telling you to go buy a dress watch or a field watch or a G-Shock, if you don't like G-Shocks, fine. I'm not the biggest G-Shock fan in the world. I'd rather buy a dive watch. Buy what you like, or else you're not going to enjoy what you buy. And thirdly, buy from trusted sources, especially in the high-end stuff. Now, when I buy a Breitling or an Omega or a Tudor or something even above that, I have four places that I go to. And I trust those 4 places. I have relationships with, one of them is Chrono 24, where you really can't build a relationship with a specific person. But the other 3 places, I have specific people one person in each place that I go to, one person I talk to, they know me, they know my tastes, we have trust. And I've spent money with them before, and I can spend money with them today or tomorrow with absolute confidence. Build relationships with people in this hobby, and you will not suffer. And
Definitely.
I have suffered. So listen to somebody with the gray hair and the knowledge.
Definitely.
Be careful out there. Go in with your eyes wide open.
Yeah, I think that's some really good advice, because I keep seeing people posting in the community where they say, I've got so and so budget, which watch should I buy? And I always tell them, just buy what you like. Don't ask us what should you buy. You just buy what you like. Do your own research and see what's out there in your budget and learn about it, and just buy what you like. Don't ask people what I should be wearing.
What you should be wearing is what you like.
Definitely.
Now, what I like may not be what Sanket likes. What Sanket likes may not be what I like. But I'm not going to begrudge him what he likes, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
one other thing. If you're buying like on a Facebook group, now I'm always on Zelos Timekeepers, and I'm buying and selling on there. Do not, and there's other ones like Watch Gang and Sub 1000 and a myriad of other places. Do not be afraid to post. You look at a watch, you see a guy selling it or a gal selling it, you don't know them. Type in, hey, I'd like a reference check for so-and-so. What do you think? And you know what? If they come back to you in a private message or whatever and say, hey, I didn't appreciate that, walk away. People in this community should not be afraid of getting. I am not offended if somebody. I'm on there all the time, but if somebody doesn't know me and they say, "Hey, I want a reference for Dane,"
yeah, definitely, you should always do that.
For a fact that 100 people will drop a reference for me in Zelos Timekeepers without even thinking about it, and I'll do the same for them. Do not be afraid to ask for references, because once the money goes across. And most people insist on you paying them before they ship.
Yeah.
Once the money goes across, you're at their mercy.
Yeah.
So references.
Definitely. But yeah, thanks for such useful tips. And thanks again for joining today. We really appreciate your time. And
I appreciate you letting me be here.
And hopefully we should do another episode pretty soon.
I'll be ready.
Cool. Thank you, Dan. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, make sure you share and like the video and subscribe the channel for more amazing content like this. And one more thing, we are really close to hitting our first milestone of 100 subscribers. So make sure you help us reach the milestone. And once we hit the milestone, I'm going to be running my first giveaway. And I'm going to be giving away an amazing watch to 1 lucky subscribers. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and you're regularly interacting with the channel. See you in the next one.